everybody, and welcome to episode 10 of the Detroit Lions franchise. I wanted to start off by just saying I apologize for what happened in episode 9. Obviously, the audio is not synced up. It looks like I'm in advance. Somehow I am. When I first re-listened to the video after editing and just to make sure that everything was okay, everything was synced up. By the time I uploaded it to YouTube, it didn't take long for me to find out that it was no longer synced up. And then when I went back to my editing software where I do everything, it once again just was not synced up. So I don't know what happened in whatever happened in between me posting it and me verifying it earlier on, where everything seemed to be good and then was not. So I don't know what happened there. So I do apologize. I will make sure that does not happen again to my utmost ability. And so yeah, let's move on. So this is going to be a different type of video. As you can see me doing more upgrades here. Jeff Okudah getting another development point. But this is going to be a different video where we're not going to have gameplay here. I'm just going to kind of be going through everything going on in the league at this point. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over stats. We're going to be going over standings. We're going to be looking at a little bit of everything, not just between our team, but the NFL as a whole. So we're going to be looking at, who's leading in yards as a thrower, who's playing at best at quarterback right now or best at receiver. We're going to be looking at a little bit of everything. This is going to be a video kind of just cool down. And I think this is going to be important because I think I made it clear in episode 1 that I really want you guys to be a part of this rebuild, a part of this franchise. And I think taking these videos in between the season or maybe at the end of the season, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how you guys respond to it as well. If you guys don't like it, we'll just scrap it for the next time. But if you guys do enjoy it, because I think this is just going to help us bring everything together. Like I said, I want you guys to be a big part of this rebuild. We will be going over the draft cast. Actually, the end of this video is going to be focused on the draft class, and it's just going to be about bringing everybody together. As you can see me looking at Sammy Watkins, trying to figure out where he's been so far this season. Production-wise, he hasn't been healthy since being with the Chiefs, so he's looking very good so far. He is healthy. He's definitely played good in most recent weeks. But getting back on track, this is going to be a little bit of a cool down video. I want you guys to get involved. I want you guys to look at what's going on in the league. I think it's important not only for the franchise, me creating this franchise, kind of making this own universe, but you guys being involved and knowing what's going on in this league. You can see us trying to give a contract there to David Njoku. I think it's just a realistic thing at this point. If you're going to trade for a guy in the NFL who's on a expiring contract, well, usually what will happen is that team will sign him to a contract right after. We're a little late on it, but we will be re-signing him. That is for sure, because I think after thinking about it, it just doesn't make sense to have traded for him and not re-sign him. We're going to hope that he can make a fantastic duo with TJ Hawkinson. At this point, we're going to be looking at stats here. So Matthew Stafford is having a pretty good season so far. 67 completion rating is absolutely phenomenal. But on top of that, 14 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He just eclipsed the 2,000-yard marker. But we're also looking at that QB rating halfway through the season. And so far, so good. I mean, he's having his best QB rating out of his career. So he's having a great season. The sack numbers are also pretty decently low compared to, past seasons. Of course, I'm just using the method of, I think he had 19 sacks so far this season. We're going to multiply that. That comes out to so-and-so. I don't remember how many sacks he actually had. But the sack numbers are technically lower than they've been in past years. And at this point, we want to look at the running back, duo that we have between Swift and Kerryon Johnson. Kerryon Johnson, it will be taking over as the main back going on. I just thought he was a better option so far, and I think he's deserved it. Looking over at receivers, Rodney Foreman is, of course, our number one guy, but having Sammy Watkins, having TJ Hawkinson, Brashad Perriman has had a couple games, big games as well, and adding another weapon like David Njoku, I think this offense has more receiving weapons that are producing at a pretty decent level and that are producing well together than Matthew Stafford has had in recent memory. We went over to the offense there. Jonah Jackson, left guard, is leading the team in sacks allowed. And now we're going to the defense here. As we're looking at sacks, Danny Shelton is still somehow our number one guy. I am shocked. I mean, this is a guy that I was kind of underestimating. I wasn't sure how he'd fit in a 4-3 system, having played in a 3-4 his whole career. But it is what it is, and we'll definitely take his great performances so far. Matt Prater is also having a much better season when it comes to kicking accuracy. I think he's been more consistent, more steady so far this year. And it's definitely nice to have a guy that we can rely on when games get tight. So let's get into the whole NFL now. And wow, Nick Foles is leading the league in passing yards, which is, kind of shocking. If you look at their team, they had a big performance against us with They had a big performance with us with Allen Robinson. But I mean, that's not enough to put him up top. And he's been just ripping up the league, apparently. 12 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. You can see some notable names as well. Some veterans, though. Big Ben, Drew Brees, Matthew Stafford's up there. And it's only until you get a little lower that you kind of see the future of the league. The Baker Mayfield, the Baker Mayfield, the Mahomes, those kind of guys who are a little bit behind so far, but that could change at any point. We're still only halfway through the season, and all it takes is a hot second half, and these guys are up there. Lamar Jackson is under there. Tom Brady all the way down there, which is a little surprising because I'm pretty sure he still has a great set of weapons. I would have to double check where Chris Godwin ended up going, but just in general, 19 touchdowns to 1 interception, that is absolutely filthy. But we're not going to get on the Tom Brady hype train. I'm pretty sure everybody's sick of that at this point. Dom Flynn, starting quarterback for the Jaguars, is having a decent season, but he's definitely at the lower end of the starting quarterback so far, but that's to be expected with the kind of team that they have there. Leading in touchdowns, you can see Colin Kaepernick up there, which is pretty interesting. 18 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. I think the 3 interceptions is a little unrealistic knowing Colin Kaepernick, but hey, we have to make up for the mistakes Madden creates, right? And now in the running game, what I thought was kind of cool was seeing Ezekiel Elliott back up there. He's had a hard time staying healthy in recent memory, but Madden's different. But he is leading it. It's pretty cool to see him up there. But guys like Saquon Barkley are a little lower. Nick Chubb as well. That was a little surprising. So we have a couple dark horses going into the receiving category. And this was awesome to see. Rodney Foreman is leading the lead in receptions. It didn't take long for me to realize, though, that he was also 1 game short compared to everybody else. Or 1 game over most guys, as we have already crossed we didn't have our bye week until this week, really. So he's already had 7 games in at this point. Most guys have only had 6, or at least the guys at the top of the leaderboard are at 6. My biggest worry for Rodney Foreman was the receptions. His reception numbers are pretty low compared to the amount of the other guys who are on the top 5, top 10. And I'm just trying to figure out how I can fix that. Rodney Foreman has been a home run hitter for us so far. As you can see, former Detroit Lions receiver Kenny Golladay, now with New England, having himself a decent season. But I was a little worried about the reception numbers. They are extremely low. I don't even think he's cracked 30 yet, but he's leading the league in receptions. That does not feel realistic. It's not right. And I'm trying to figure out what I can do to fix that. And that becomes an issue where, do I target him more? But then am I going to have a problem with his yards after being a little inflated? And we're just going to have to find a medium there as I'm trying to get everything together. You can see Jonah Jackson's actually tied for, I think, like 4th or 5th in sacks allowed with a crew of players. We went on to the defense, though. Tackling machines, Jerome Baker and Fred Warner are at the top, which is pretty realistic. I think Fred Warner was actually leading the league in tackles recently. I might be wrong on that, but I know he is. He tackles in numbers, so he's going to finish off the game with a lot of tackles. And then T.J. Watt. He's going to be the left outside linebacker for the Steelers, who's leading the league in tackles for loss. He also has 8.5 sacks. He's having a monster season. You can see Myles Garrett, Khalil Mack, Aaron Donald. They're all up there. Those are all the names that we kind of expect to be up there, and they're doing what they do. There's no surprises there. Interceptions-wise, I was expecting some players to have a little bit more, but to know that there's only 3, the guys that are leading the lead right now are only 3, and having Xavier Howard up there and James Bradbury, 2 guys who have had good seasons when it comes to interception numbers at the top of the league. That felt good. It felt satisfying just knowing that it's kind of consistent with what's going on in real life. We went to go check on the kick return yards, and this was another issue. Why are we getting so many more kick returns than everybody else? I had a theory at some point that maybe it's because some teams have 2 returners, but that didn't make too much sense at this point because our numbers are just so inflated. And then, but we're gonna have an answer for that question a little bit later throughout the video, and we start looking at standings and team stats, not individual stats. But as of so far this season, halfway through, Deebo Samuel and Jamal Agnew are the only ones to have a punt return touchdown so far. And at this point, we're going to start looking at our team stats, where offense ranks 5th, but the defense 25th. And that's kind of started making sense to me. Why Agnew is getting so many more returning opportunities is because our defense, has been great for the past 3 weeks. But if we're going to go up and compare, to our first 4 or 5, they weren't too great. They were letting up a lot of points. We still let up a lot of points as, we have yet to really, have a blowout game go in our favor. Where for the most part, most games are really just 1 possession or 2 possession games, and that is still a relatively tight game. And so we're going to go over here, and we're going to try and find ourselves here. And I believe we were actually in the middle of the pack for some big stats defensively, but when it came to points allowed, we were at the lower end. I'd say probably bottom 15. I'd say maybe even bottom 10. I didn't count the specific amount of teams that were above us, or I guess you can, I don't want to say above us because it's not a good thing to be above us at this point, but the teams that have allowed more points, I didn't count the specific number, but I think we were on the lower end, that is for sure. We were also letting, on the lower end of rush yards allowed, which was not phenomenal for us. We have had big games go up against us. We've also performed well. I think I've stated this before. I think our big issue so far in the run game is that we do such a great job when it comes to, consistently being able to stop a team for getting rushes for 3-4 yards, not letting, running backs, get those 10, 15-yard runs. But then at some point, it just feels like at least once or twice a game, the running back is going to get 30, 40, 50, or even more yards, and just two big runs that kind of skew the stats. So when it comes to our run defense, I think it's a little bit misleading because we do allow big runs, but for the most part, we're able to shut them down. And we've been consistent with that kind of strategy, though it's probably not the best. I'd like to avoid those 70-yard runs when they happen, but, we can't do everything. And for the most part, we're doing okay. So now at this point, I wanted to visit the draft class, and this is the big part. This is the big focus at the end here. I want you guys' opinion. If you guys want to leave a comment because you find someone that you like. At this point, we're just going over a couple positions of need. I did want to address corner to a certain extent. I don't know if I want to spend a first round on corner, though. I think, Coleman is still a great depth guy, but I believe he's going to be a free agent by the end of the season, as well as Trufant. So we might lose two veterans, probably our two, statistics, or I guess overall speaking, our two highest rated corners. Though we did decide to put Justin Coleman down on the depth chart to let Amani get some more reps. But I'd like to bring in another guy who we can build around. And if we can have an amazing trio with Amani, Okudah, and whoever that may be, if we can build a trio through the draft, I think that would be awesome. Other than that, what did we not scout yet that I think is important? We have not scouted linebackers yet. I still want to find ourselves that stud linebacker. You can see me going over the quarterbacks. It was just, good to see, if a team's going to pick up, a future Hall of Famer. This is not necessarily a strong quarterback class, but what haven't we scouted yet? So we haven't done offensive line yet, which is I think a need. We haven't found a linebacker. I was just talking about that. I'm a big supporter of having an elite middle linebacker. If you can have an elite middle linebacker, your whole entire defense can change. That is the quarterback of the defense. It is so important to have, and I will, die by that I think we need to find ourselves a star middle linebacker if we're going to have a truly elite defense at some point. Now, we wanted to go over receivers. If you can have, elite weapons, I'm definitely not going to avoid saying no to that. We did start looking at tight ends, but we did this before having traded for David Njoku, because really there was only one, first round tight end, only one guy who would, from what we've scouted so far, who can make an immediate impact. And it was just, we don't know where we're going to draft. We don't know if we're going to be able to guarantee landing him because we're not at that point in the season yet. So I thought it'd be better if we traded for one. We then went to look at defensive line. We haven't done a great job yet. That's going to be something that we focus on. I guess our focus on for the second half of the season is going to be topping off the corner and receiver, because those are also always great depth players to get late in the draft if you can find a couple decent guys who can just fill up the depth chart. So we're going to want to round those out, but our focus is going to be on the D-line, middle linebacker, and O-line positions, as we hope to find guys that can take over. I think having an elite middle linebacker, or just an elite linebacker in general, is going to be key to this defense's future. If we can find an elite edge rusher who can create consistent pressure, maybe not every play, but every second or third. I'm not expecting to find a Myles Garrett, that's for sure, but I definitely want someone who can be more consistent than Trey Flowers and Romeo Okwara are. So they're a great duo, but I'd want to find someone who's able to do what they both do in one package, and overall that will save us money in the future if we only have to sign one big name defensive lineman compared to two above average ones. I just think it'll be better for us in the future. And of course, offensive linemen, like I said, I think other than Frank Ragnow, and even at this point with where the season's going, I think Frank Ragnow might just be the only guy, the only true building piece that we have. I think Taylor Decker's okay, But I think if we can find a better replacement than Taylor, if we can find a better player than Taylor Decker, I would definitely take that. You can see me there just readjusting some of the prospects that we like in the first and early second rounds. Like I said, we don't know where we're going to draft yet, so making a draft board at this point is a little useless because you just don't know what you should be targeting. But there's definitely some great names here. I mean, Terrence Kramer, the middle linebacker, we went over him a little quickly, is just a great prospect. And if we can land him, that is where I'll be, very ecstatic about this draft. And I just want to find, even if we only land one player, I think we need to find, one guy at this point on the defensive end that can be the future of this defense. I think we've drafted a couple good players on offense, and I think we're pretty young on offense when it comes to the running back group with Kerryon Johnson, DeAndre Swift. If we can develop those guys, I think they'll make a phenomenal duo. Philip Shelby has yet to be given an opportunity. Rodney Foreman, I think, has made it clear that if he can stay healthy, which he's yet to be injured as well, so maybe that won't be a worry throughout his career. But if he can stay healthy, this guy will be an absolute monster in the league. I think offensively, we have a couple building pieces that we don't need to go into the draft and just, go full out on offense. I think at this point, it's about building a defense. And right now, if I can name some guys on defense that I think are going to be around for, solidified stars, I'm hoping Jeff Okudah can develop into one. I think he will be. Amani, maybe. But I think at his, where he's at, normal development, already 25 years old. I think he's around 75, 76 overall. I think, realistically with how Madden works, he'll probably end up being a, second or third guy, maybe capping off at the low 80s overall wise, which, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because, well, we're going to be going by performance. And so far he's been performing better. But, yeah, so that's going to be the strategy. I also wanted to highlight this for the Vikings game. I wanted to show it off here. So what happened is, and I did bring it up during the Vikings game, I believe, is that my file collapsed. I lost everything. So I had to replay it. So what happens is certain games, if I'm feeling lazy, I'll just record it on the PlayStation. And then I think before we even got to that second half, I saw that the recording thing that shows up on the top of the screen was had frozen. And then I wasn't even able to enter my menus, the PlayStation menus. I couldn't press a share button. I couldn't press anything. So I had to turn off my PlayStation completely. That is why you can see 2 times played. But I don't think it really matters. It's not like I snuck out a win there or anything. We ended up losing. So I don't think you guys will complain that I'm, trying to sketch out games to, make the season kind of what I want it to be. And you can see every other game was only played once. So, I'm doing one shot on everything. Win or lose, we're accepting it for what it is. And we're going to move on with that. Now, we look at the rest of the schedule, and other than the Eagles, I think we are going to have an absolute struggle. I mean, this is a tough schedule. The Ravens, the Bears, Allen Robinson had a monster week on us the first time we played. How will we adjust to that? But the Packers, I believe twice. We haven't even played the Packers yet, so we have to play them twice after. Cardinals, Rams, these are all solid teams that are going to, they're going to punch us in the mouth if we let them punch us in the mouth. And so we're going to have to, we're really going to have to persevere throughout the second half of the season because it will not be easy. Now, so like I said, I think the Eagles are going to be the only, probably winnable game or, game that I'm looking forward at right now and thinking that we can win. But other than that, it's going to be an interesting second half of the season. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know in the comments if you guys don't like it. If you guys do like it, we'll go off from that. So I want to say thank you. Peace out, y'all.